it got to the point that working on Ethereal was something I dreaded almost every day. That's about it. We didn't talk about leaving the other company. I can do that. Let's see here. Let's leave. I'll talk about it very briefly. I can't go into extreme details, but I'll tell you guys what I told my chat the other day, or my Discord the other day, in that I left Ethereal partly because I was an unpaid volunteer. Excuse me. Partly because I was an unpaid volunteer. Because I was spending a lot of time working on the game, worrying about the game, stressing out about the game, and all of that, but wasn't being compensated for that time. And that's not a slight on the team directly. That's just what it was. And additionally to that, because I wasn't being paid, any kind of additional stress or comments made it hard to justify staying there. So what I told my Discord the other day is that many factors went into it, more than just the two that I'm going to give you guys. That I was an unpaid volunteer, and I just explained how that can be frustrating. But also there were some unrealistic expectations of what marketing can do for a game in that state. And I don't mean that in a bad state. I don't mean that in any way shape or form bad about Ethereal directly. Just that there were some expectations of, if we do X, we'll get Y. Without fail. And there were many reasons that that's not the case. But overall, the comments like that and the comments that I would receive when X didn't equal Y on a consistent basis made it so that I wasn't willing to stay on the team anymore as an unpaid volunteer. That if they eventually get funding or are making money and want to hire me back on the team, that's something I'd be willing to entertain. But as of right now, I'm not doing any work for them. I'm not part of the team. They removed my access from the Discord, from the testing server, all of that kind of stuff. I say they removed me. I don't mean that in a bad way. When I left the team, they just said, hey, we're going to have to remove you. And I said, yep, I understand. Parted ways. I am currently listed as a content creator in their Discord, so I don't have any special privileges on that side of things. I don't get to see any behind the scenes stuff. So if we're going to make more Ethereal content going forward, it's going to be me making the old Ethereal content that I really enjoyed, and maybe some new ideas that are in there as well. So I'm not leaving the company with any animosity toward the company or anybody in the company directly. I left because it was the right thing to do for me, for my well-being, my mental health, my physical health, everything involved. It was the right choice for me to leave at the current moment. I wish them nothing but the best. I hope the game goes well. I have concerns about what we've seen from a community perspective the last several months since my leaving. But overall, yeah, there's no burnt bridges. There's no anything like that. It really it came down to, for me, my personal life, my free time, my mental health, my physical health, all of that. It was a better choice for me to step away from the project and be on my own, being back to content creating, getting back to the things that I really enjoyed doing, rather than stay on the team and effectively feel burnt out. That it got to a point where you guys know how much I love Ethereal, how much I believe in Ethereal, all of those things. And it got to the point that working on Ethereal was something I dreaded almost every day. And because of those reasons, it just felt like it felt like I was working the worst job I could possibly have and not getting paid for it. So it was the double whammy of it all. And with that, there's just no good reason for me to stay. Yeah. So, like I said, I love the project. I wish it nothing but the best going forward. Might as well try. Yeah. I did put out an application to Ometa, actually. So if they're watching this, hey Ometa, I realized I talked crap about you for 2 hours earlier, but honestly, I am open to work for these games, whatever that entails, whatever they're looking for. I'm open to it, but I'm not also super actively seeking it out. Before I'd even decided to leave the Ethereal team, exactly, Black Captain. Before I decided to leave the Ethereal team, I was watching content being made about Overprime and Paragon and Predecessor, and even Ethereal to an extent, and basically just sat there, and I'll be perfectly transparent with you guys, basically sat there and told myself I could do so much better than this. Not that I could do so much better than my current situation, but I could make better content than what I'm seeing being made by the majority of creators in these spaces. And there's an aspect of cockiness and arrogance in there, absolutely. But I truly believed that deep down, that also drove my decision to leave Ethereal a little bit, because I missed content creation and I missed, and basically I wanted to prove to myself that I was right, that I could make better content than that. And some of the comments you guys made earlier kind of helped that a little bit, may help ease my fears about that side of things. But truly and honestly, that was a big driving force too, of I didn't feel like I could make objective content about these games if I was still on the theoretical payroll of another one of them, right? Because no matter what I said, and this will still happen to an extent, no matter what I said, no matter what I did, no matter any of those things, I would still receive comments of, well, you're just mad about this because you work for another game, or you don't know what you're talking about. You just want to put this game down and make your game seem great, and all of these things. So I don't want that to be the response. I want to be able to tell the community how I feel, why I feel that way, and have it come across as the truth, and not that I'm just doing this to build one game up over another. So you guys are going to hear, going into the future, you're going to hear me say critical things about Ethereal more than you have while I worked for the game. Not because I didn't feel that way while I was on the project, but because I was able to share those feelings internally with the developers directly. That I didn't agree with their decisions, that I think they're going in the wrong direction, that I think XYZ. Whether they agree or not is up to them. And it still is up to them. But now you're going to be able to hear those comments more publicly without it feeling like I'm betraying the people that I'm on the payroll for. And I use payroll loosely. But overall, like I said, there's no harsh feelings, any of that. It was just the better decision for me. And at the end of the day, the thing I wanted to do more to be able to be better for you guys, for the content that I want to make, for the content that I feel like these communities deserve. When do I think Ethereal will be ready with what I've seen? I can't answer that directly. I can't tell you based on XYZ stuff, because I am under NDA for them. I'm still under NDA, even though I don't work for the project anymore. So I'll be very broad with only the things that I know the community has access to see. I think Ethereal is well on its way. I think between the test over a year ago and the most recent test in May, there was a lot of progress made. And I hope that that progress continues into the future, and that we get more tests more consistently than every year. We went from April, or I guess actually it was February of 2022 to May of 2023. So honestly, a little more than a year. The tests theoretically need to be more frequent than that if an audience is going to cultivate around it in a way that I think is beneficial for the game. If they don't want to do it that way and they want to have extended periods between tests, then audience buildup will be much, much slower. And different strategies will need to be utilized to make that okay. So that's, at least without thinking about it more, and maybe we can have this conversation again in the future. Without thinking about it more, that's the best response I can give you right now. because I don't want to violate any of the agreements that I've signed with them by any stretch. But I think from what we've seen, comparing Ethereal's progress from a year between tests to predecessor's progress from a year between tests before early access, Ethereal made a lot more meaningful progression than predecessor did in a similar time frame with less funding. That to me is encouraging and hopeful for the future that continues in a positive direction. That being said, they need a lot more content sooner than later. And I mean that in terms of characters. The Ethereal test we had in May had 10 characters, and that's not enough to be a sustainable ecosystem in a release format. So we need to have more than 10 characters going into the future before any kind of early access, closed beta, whatever they're going to call it, before any of that officially gets released. Convince me ads are not the devil. They are the devil. I create ad campaigns all day, every day, basically now. They are the devil. It's witchcraft and voodoo. So yeah.